Welcome to a brand new podcast. Ian McLean is a writer and the author of TJ's War. David Blair is an actor and the narrator of the audiobook TJ's War. David and Ian have been listening to their readers and listeners and have decided to turn TJ's War into a movie. And since the story covers the entirety of World War II, the movie will cost at least $50 million. Will David and Ian succeed in their quest? Follow them in this podcast series. We're going to make a $50 million movie.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to We're Gonna Make a $50 Million Movie or TV series. The podcast where we dive deep into the creative process behind turning an epic story into an unforgettable visual experience. I'm hosting this one. It kind of rotates around. My name is Mark Reed, and today we're taking on one of the most exciting yet challenging aspects of filmmaking, casting. David Blair, the talented voice actor who brought the characters of the original novel, TJ's War, to life in the audiobook version, joins me for this one. If you've listened to it, you know exactly how vivid and compelling those characters are, thanks in large part to David's incredible work. Now, while we haven't yet secured a director or head screenwriter, which will ultimately guide the vision of this project, today we're focusing on who could we see stepping into these lead and secondary roles. We'll be talking about the qualities we're looking for, the types of actors who might fit these parts, i.e. who could we see playing TJ, and how can we bring the story's emotional depth to the screen. So without further ado, let's jump into the casting discussion and start imagining who could help us make this $50 million movie a reality. David, I'm excited for this discussion with you. You operate in the acting universe and have firsthand genuine knowledge of what it takes to bring depth to these characters. So you ready? Let's just cast this whole movie right now.
Yeah, let's do it. Give it 5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll have it done. Ian will be so pleased.
Yep, send it to the studio. Absolutely. I think this is going to be, well, at least from my perspective, a meandering wander through. I haven't got it all lined up. I have a few ideas for one or two of the characters. I thought it might be quite fun if we kind of discover this as we're going today.
Yeah, as I was thinking of characters, I was thinking, well, what are we looking for in a character? And because I had a couple that were in mind. Like I thought, oh, Adam Driver could play TJ, and then I realized, Adam Driver's not from Scotland. And though he might be able to pull the accent off, I'm very wary of that. There's some great Brits who can pull off the American accent. Hugh Laurie in that show House. I watched 7 seasons of that show House before I heard him speak, not knowing that he was originally British, and I was like, "What? That guy's British?" Like I didn't know Hugh Laurie. I know more about him now, and I know he's famous beyond House MD before it, but I'm just saying his American accent is so spot on that you can't. I was fooled. I was fooled for 7 years.
There have been lots of Brits over the years. Dominic West in The Wire.
Yeah.
Damien Lewis in Homeland. Well, I can't speak for their authenticity because,
Oh, you don't have the ear.
I'm not American, yeah, so I can't say whether they really genuinely pulled it off. But
Colin, what's the Irish guy's name?
Colin.
Not Firth, but the other Colin.
The Irish actor.
Yeah. I'm sorry, he is Irish.
Yeah,
he's young. I've forgotten his name, but it's perfect too when he does it.
Really?
Yes, it's spot on.
Well, we do have some Americans in this. There's a significant American chunk, isn't there? So,
well, I was thinking about TJ himself. At least starting there. So, aside from the accent, what key qualities should the lead actor possess to convincingly portray a character who, because I was thinking about it today, experiences both being an integral part of the actual action So like he's not just a regular guy. He's kind of a hero, you know. So
Mm.
a little bit of a hero. There's a love story involved, and then ultimately we're getting to the point that he also experiences the horrors of war and the lasting effects. So in other words, he has to be a little vulnerable too. So he's got to be a hero, but he's got to be a little, you know, well, vulnerable.
Yeah.
So charisma and humility.
Certainly charisma. I think there's something that leading actors have, certain leading actors. I'm thinking of, because I brought him up earlier, Damian Lewis in Band of Brothers. And if you
Yeah.
haven't seen that, folks, give it a view. I pop
How
up
old is
briefly
he?
in episode 2, but that wasn't the reason I brought it up. What Damien does, irrespective of his accent, is he's that type of actor who can be very still and not appear to be doing much at all. And we see things play out through them, and almost like they're a canvas. And I think we need that essence with TJ, because we can't have a busy actor that's sort of constantly doing, like, for instance, Michael Keaton, fantastic actor, but that style of actor where he's quite a busy actor, he's kind of constantly doing stuff. That's the antithesis of what I think we need for TJ.
That's true.
TJ needs to be someone with a stillness around which, like an anchor, around which all of this stuff is happening. Which isn't to say, on the other hand, that they're not doing anything, because they'll need to portray a huge range from where they start off innocent and where they end up experienced and disillusioned.
Age is another factor here. So like,
yeah.
Are we going to use the same actor to portray TJ from start to finish, or two different actors?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we could do either. I think if someone is sort of 20s, 25, then they could certainly get away with the 18-year-old. But if we get the right actor, then they could portray the experienced version at the other end. It also depends on where we end the story. You know, how far do we go?
Yeah.
There's a film, there's a British film, which it's called Any Human Heart. It was either a series or a film, I forget now. And it was a Second World War thing, and it was over quite a long period. It was over several decades. So they did change the actor, and it finished up with Jim Broadbent, fantastic British actor. He played the final version, and, you know, it's a device, and you go with it as the audience. You know what's happening.
Right.
So I think it would largely depend on how long. If we're just going 6 years, 39 to 45, then I think it could be one actor. But
it still has to be because, like, today I did my own brainstorming session of like, who can play TJ, and number one on my list was, and I'm going to mispronounce his first name, but he's an Irish actor. He was just in Oppenheimer. Cillian Murphy, is that?
Oh yeah,
is that right?
Cillian.
See, I knew I would do that. Cillian Murphy, because he's known for his intense, nuanced performances. He could bring depth to the character, but he's probably too old. And, you know, then I thought of, like I said, Adam Driver, because Adam Driver, a question I want to ask later, but we'll save it for now. But he has actual military experience. Adam Driver was in the Marines before he became an actor, and I think that could bring something to the role, just having that personal knowledge of that. Benedict Cumberbatch, but he's probably too old. Tom Hardy would be terrific. I think he's known for rugged roles, and, you know, he could portray a hardened war veteran. But again, can he play it young enough?
I'm not sure Tom Hardy's got the right vibe. I mean, what we're looking for is, right now in this conversation, is kind of perfect, isn't it? We can have in our dream casting world, we can have anybody. He's a great actor, but I think maybe, 20 years ago, Tom Hardy, possibly, he was in Band of Brothers as well. Everybody was in Band of Brothers. I imagine TJ to have a bit more. Well, Tom Hardy comes across to me. I perceive him to be a bit more of a more of a lad, a bit more of a
right. But that's how I. That's
a bit
how
more
I
of a
saw
scrapping geezer kind of guy.
But that's
and I see TJ as being a little more. Not that he can't do that, but a little more
sensitive.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of sensitivity, or there's a refinedness or something to him that, whilst he can pile in and physically get stuck in, I saw him as being a bit more, sensitive, but that kind of has the wrong connotation. Just a bit more, he would rather hold his hands out and say, no, let's just talk for a minute, and you know what I mean? Does that come across?
Yeah. No, that's. I see what you're saying. He wasn't just gung ho. I think it's maybe an American way to say that. Just let's go all in. In every situation. Well, I did do some research. I don't know any of these names I'm about to mention. 10 of them. If you know them, tell me. But I did some Google research for 10 actors in their 20s that could potentially play TJ.
I have a few names as well.
Okay, so you'll have to tell me, like, I don't know that person, or he would be terrible, or that's perfect. Here are the 10 names that came up: Lewis Gibbon, Gribben.
Did you say Lewis Gibbon?
Gribben, I believe. I'm sorry,
Gribben, okay.
Gribben. He's known for his role in Somewhere Boy. Okay, he brings an authentic Scottish background.
Yeah, nice.
There's
and
another
Scottish by the looks of things.
Thomas Doherty, born 95. The Doherty is Doherty, and he's a versatile Scottish actor. The notes on Thomas are that he has charisma and the intensity for such a role.
And he's from Edinburgh as well. Has he done enough? Because this could be the other thing that we have to mention is that none of us want this to be a kind of £100,000 overall, or $100,000 overall thing that has wobbly sets and 3 extras when there's supposed to be an army. We want this to be done really well. We want this to be.
We want a big enough name.
Which means that we need someone that can handle this. Possibly a bit of an unknown, maybe, but actually they've got quite a few movies under their belt, and they know what they're doing, and they're comfortable, and they can hold all this whole thing together.
I just thought out like 1 or 2 more names, and then we can go back to some questions here. Angus, well, that's very Scottish, right? Angus Imrie, IMRI.
Imrie, yeah.
Imrie,
he's from a very famous acting dynasty, I would have thought, because his relation is Celia Imrie, who I'm sure people would know. Brilliant actress.
Yes, talented young actor with experience to both film and television, including the kid who would be king. He has the potential to take on a complex role.
Oh, he's in The Archers. Oh, he's a shoo-in then. We've got to have him.
There we go, because we got one now. We got one.
Have you heard of The Archers?
No.
The Archers is it's a very, very long-running BBC Radio 4 drama soap type thing.
Oh, okay.
It's on for 10 or 15 minutes every single day, maybe apart from Sunday or something like that. They do the omnibus on Sunday. And it's been going for like 60 years or something, if not more. And he plays someone in that.
We got Finn Little. Now, this guy is going to be right at the age. He's not going to have to pretend to be younger. He's going to have to pretend to be older, perhaps. He's
oh my God, he's about 4.
Yeah, Finn Little, an emerging actor born in 2006. Little is gaining recognition for his role in Those Who Wish Me Dead. He can bring a fresh face to the role, though he is on the younger side.
He's an Aussie.
That's close enough. For an American audience, they're not too picky. I can hear the difference. Let's just make that clear. I can hear the difference. But
apparently it's a bit like for Americans, the Australian British thing is a bit like for us, the American Canadian thing. It's obvious to you guys, but we can struggle to hear it sometimes.
Well, I mean, admittedly, American Canadian thing, it's so close that unless they drop a few, there's just a few words like
the hoot.
Right. Yeah. And if they drop an A in there anywhere, like, I was there yesterday, and then, okay, you've just exposed yourself as a Canadian. Or if they're just nice, then they're probably Canadian.
He might possibly, because he could certainly do the younger bit, but he might possibly struggle with the
Yeah,
haggard.
because he was born in 2006, so he's not even 20 now.
Okay. Yeah.
Rory J. Saper, Saper. He was born in. He'll be the right age. Is a British actor with notable roles in The Legend of Tarzan and Find Me in Paris. He has a strong screen presence that could suit a wartime role. And the good thing about younger actors, they're a little cheaper than Benedict Cumberbatch. And
he was born in Buckinghamshire, just around the corner from me. Beaconsfield, that's just around the corner from me. He went to Harrow. Harrow is one of the oldest. Well, we call them public schools, but they're private. Public means fee paying, and sort of Harrow is up there with Eton and a few others. Any more?
Lewis Capaldi. He's known more for his music, but Capaldi has expressed interest in acting and could bring an interesting new take to a role like this with a Scottish background and raw charisma.
For TJ.
And well, like I said, I was doing the research on paper. I have some,
interesting guy.
I'm just throwing names
definitely. Out. I didn't know about his interest in acting.
That's what I
think he's great. He's very irreverent and says it how it is. But I don't see him as TJ. But
that's fitting.
Could be interesting put in somewhere else.
Well, how about Chris Fulton? He was born in 91. He's appeared in, is it Bridgerton and Outlaw King? Although slightly older, he still fits within the late 20s bracket and has experience with period dramas.
Now, all I'm going on is a few pictures that have come up.
The thing is, when I was doing my research,
he's 35. Wow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he might be too old. Well, the thing I was doing, like, research, I wasn't. My first mistake is I wasn't considering the age because I was like, "Oh, Ewan McGregor could do this," and Ewan McGregor's like 50 something now. I was. I can't remember some of the other names I came up with, or I wasn't considering the Scottish thing, and I was just coming up with a bunch of American actors, and I have only heard one movie where an American actor did an English accent and the Brits that I knew accepted it and said, "Yep, that one passes. None of the others do." and that's the Bridget Jones Diary thing. And so you might even disagree with that, but I've heard Brits say that Renee Zellweger, she did her research and she passed with her British accent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The other one is Chris Pratt.
Passed or failed?
Absolute pass.
Really?
He was on a chat show called Graham Norton. Yeah, you can look it up on the internet, I'm sure. And he was over here promoting something, and he said he'd been watching some British TV, and there's a particular show called The Only Way is Essex, I think it was. There's a few shows like that. And he just started to do this perfect Essex accent, and he had all the gestures, and he was kind of, like, am I bothered, and all of that. And it was outstandingly good. So yeah, he passes.
Well, he's a true thespian. You wouldn't think so by just looking at him or seeing some of his roles. Like you would just think, that's just a pretty boy that got acting gigs. But from my understanding, Chris Pratt actually does study his roles. He maybe does method or whatever, and really gets into the role before. He doesn't just dive right in like, hand me the script, let me just be a pretty boy on screen.
Yeah. No, that fits. But he was very good in, is it Parks and Recreation?
Yeah. That's where I first, found him. And
so
I just thought he was just like a funny guy. Yeah, I know. But I just thought, okay, he's a funny guy. And so when I saw him in movies like Passenger or, he's a different person, I was really impressed. Like, okay, I actually like this. It's not that I didn't like him in Parks and Recreation. It's just that I thought he was already typecast or something as, okay, he's going to be this kind of guy, but he's more versatile than than I originally gave him credit for. He could do this for sure.
Well, we'll see if there's anyone from Essex in this. My feeling about Chris Fulton is Scottish, turns out, but perhaps a bit old. But irrespective of the age thing, there's a look about him which is he looks a bit Marvel universe.
Yeah.
and that's a long, long way from. I'm not casting aspersions
From
on the Marvel thing,
right.
but that's a long way from the feel of this. I think what it should be.
Well, we can come back to a few. I just have like three other names, but let's go back to some of the questions I had. That first question, if we want, after talking about some of the potential actors there, if we want to revisit that, what key qualities should the lead actor possess to convincingly portray a character who both experiences the hell of war, the love story, and he's a hero, but he's got to be vulnerable. That sort of thing. How important do you think is the physical resemblance to TJ in this? Like, I mean, there's only a few
Pretty
pictures
small,
that
I think.
that's what I thought. Like, I
Yeah.
only have a kind of, even from all the, I have the book, and all the pictures that I've seen that Ian's shown us. I don't know how significant it is that, because it's not like he's playing Winston Churchill, like
Yeah,
a
exactly.
character that everyone knows what he
They
looks
have to
like.
look like them somewhat.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Right.
think if they were well known for my money, then yeah, exactly as you say. If they were playing Churchill, then they needed to be close at least. But no, not well. I mean, TJ wasn't famous; he wasn't known. So
What are your thoughts on casting actors with military experience or backgrounds for authenticity? And that's actually when I came up with Adam Driver, for him having been in the Marines before he uh,
mm,
took on all the different roles he did. But he's not Scottish. But him aside, like how helpful would it
I
be?
think
Or,
if you get the right actor, then they'll be right. I think
well,
the
that's the
because
idea.
I think TJ doesn't have any military experience, certainly at the start.
Well, that's true.
And although things are generally not shot in story order, I think this will be so long, or at least the
Mm,
filming could be so long, that there will be what am I trying to say? It will be a mix of location shooting. So they'll go to Morocco and shoot all that stuff. Then they'll go to Italy and shoot all that stuff, and so on. But that will roughly coincide with story order as well. So I would have thought that because there's such a difference in how they're supposed to be on day one as opposed to day whatever at the other end, they couldn't, if there was a scene in London at the start and then another one in London at the end, 6 years later, I don't think they could do those one day after the other
right.
when it came to shooting, because they'd be so different. But to answer your question, I don't think it's that important, really. I think it's
Mm,
more the depth of experience
okay.
there, because although there are going to be some sort of action battle scenes.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, what? Okay,
I think
then
it's
how
the
that
essence, really, isn't it? Not we could always send him on boot camp anyway, like they did on Band of Brothers.
several actors who've done that. Yeah. Um, it sort of begs the question in my mind, at least, is okay. Well, how much do we balance star power versus pure acting ability when casting roles that require a deep emotional range? I mean, would you rather have, well, I don't want to say Chris Pratt because I think he could handle it, but I mean, would you rather have, let's just say, Leonardo DiCaprio? That's not going to happen. He's definitely too old now. But would you rather have the star power or the lesser known actor who was really able to fit in the role better?
No, that's the big question. Um, Ultimately, one that thankfully the casting department will have to sweat it out with production. But I guess there's a payoff, isn't there? If you had
Mm,
a lesser known central role, if you had a lesser known TJ, you can populate round them with bigger names. And there's
happens.
always the possibility that sometimes when a script is sent around, if the actors love it, they'll just want to be in it. And once one or
Yeah.
two start to get involved, these things that crop up on the TV, and you think, oh my god, everyone's in this.
Right.
All the notable faces. I don't know. What's your take on that?
I think about like how often I am drawn to, okay, a new movie's coming out and it's got Tom Hanks or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna be interested generally to see it because he's just so great in everything he does. Um,
Yeah.
but assuming we're not going to get Tom Hanks, if it's just a sort of mid-level, well, my take on it is like, if Tom Hanks is coming out in a movie, I'm probably going to go see that movie because he's just that good in everything he does, and I just, I'll be surprised if the movie's doesn't live up to the hype. But assuming we're not going to get Tom Hanks for this, if you get Colin Farrell, the guy I was trying to think of before, he's a great actor, but I don't necessarily just go see every Colin Farrell movie. So my point is that a big name, while alluring or captures your interest, it doesn't. The name alone does not get me to buy a ticket to the theater. So I don't know if names are quite as important. It would be nice to have one or two that gives it credibility, but I don't think they have to be superstars.
But I think you can tell what sort of a production it is by the level of people involved.
There's no doubt.
And it doesn't always have to hang on the cast either. We can have from the producers of, the people that brought you that are bringing you this.
Well, that of course.
And directors, once a director becomes well known enough, and they can have lesser names in it possibly because they're Christopher Nolan or whoever. Well, folks, we are coming to the end of our time.
I got more to say.
Well, I know. I've got loads more.
Right. We'll keep going. We'll do another episode, and this will be a two-parter because I got more people to talk about.
To find out more about the book, visit tjswar.com, and to buy it, click on the Amazon link below. To accompany us on our journey, please subscribe to this podcast because we're going to make a $50 million movie.